Hey, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Flow with the Grow. I'm your host, Sophia, and this is a podcast for all things health, wellness, fitness, and personal growth. And I'm really excited because today I have special guest Keysa Amaro on to talk about a lot of things revolving around cravings, emotional eating, and just as an overview, we talk more about what a craving is, where they stem from, and things that you can do starting today to help you reduce your cravings or to lose your cravings. In the show notes below, you will find how you can reach Keysa on her Instagram, her website, and how you can learn more about her program. Her website is KeysaAmaro.com and her Instagram is Keysa.amaro. I hope this episode can help you shift your perspective around food. And I know there are still so many people out there, myself included, and I used to struggle with this more so when I was younger, but we all struggle with the cravings, emotional eating, the yo-yo dieting, the all or nothing mentality. And I feel like Keysa did an amazing job sharing her insights, experience, and knowledge around this topic. And if you did enjoy this episode, please take a screenshot and put it up on your stories and tag me and Keysa and help us spread the messages of today's episode. Hello, Keysa, and welcome to Flow with the Grow. I'm super excited to have you on.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I really want to talk about emotional eating and cravings. I think a lot of people I find have struggles with that. And especially with like all the diets that are out there, yo-yo dieting, people telling you what to do and not to do. And then also we just kind of get in our heads about all of that, like our relationship with food, mindset, and all of that. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that. First, can you just tell us more about what you do, who you are, where you're from?
Yeah, awesome. Like you said, I'm Keysa Amaro. I'm a certified health coach, and I help ambitious women transform their negative body image and obsession with weight into body confidence so that they can really show up fully in their life and their career. I also host the Lose Your Cravings podcast, and I also run a Transform Your Cravings program. And in that program, I help women shift their mindset around food, their body. So they really stop obsessing about food and they stop the yo-yo dieting cycle and develop a healthy relationship with food and themselves. And I'm born and raised in Oregon, small town on the coast, Astoria. Many people refer to it as the Goonies. And yes, the Goonies was filmed there. But I currently reside in I currently reside on Oahu in Kailua. So I've been here.
Hawaii. That's amazing. Super cool.
Yeah. I've been here on and off since 2003. So I love it. I call it home. So
yeah. Wonderful. Awesome. So first of all, I think it's awesome that you do what you do because I personally have not met someone who focuses just on that, not just, but like on those things versus a lot of coaches, either they focus like they're a hormone coach or it's just fitness or like fitness nutrition, but no one that I know really focuses on food cravings and emotional eating and all of that, what you just said. So I think that's really cool that you do that. How did you get into doing what you do and why?
Yeah, that's a great question. To make a really long story short, because it started, you could go back to like teenage days when I started dieting and just like falling into the diet culture and like what my body should look like. And my body doesn't look like that. So I started restricting from a really early age and dieting and calorie counting. And so really after struggling with that for I'm trying to think decades almost, like it was a long time. I was introduced to the paleo diet. And this was really the first time I challenged myself not to count calories. Like I did a paleo challenge with my friend. She was like, let's do this. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, wait, what? You don't count calories? And I was like, I did have like this big fear that I was going to gain weight, but I did it. And it really was like kind of like that gateway to like opening my eyes. And I started to see how food affects your body, your energy, your sleep, your health. And like food was not just to restrict and manage your weight with, right? There was this huge other components, like many other components that like food does to your body. And so really this sparked my interest to dive deeper into the connection between nutrition and health. So I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I got certified as a health coach, and I started out working with clients in that capacity of shifting what they ate from this kind of idea of like restriction to health, right? From like dieting to more of like a health and wellness point of view. But I noticed I was still struggling with massive cravings, and I would overeat healthy food and unhealthy food. But like I can remember overeating apples and almond butter, right? I would just like be mowed down on it, right? Or coconut butter and raisins. I was just like, get it in my mouth like as fast as possible. And I knew this wasn't healthy. Like, and I was like, I felt really weird because I'm a health coach. I'm like, not preaching, but I'm teaching people to be healthy. And here I am overeating. So I knew that our relationship to food wasn't just about food itself. It wasn't just shifting the food you eat, but it was much deeper. So I started to dig into the mindset around food and emotional eating and cravings. And once I understood how cravings worked, the power of emotional eating and how to solve for them, like what's at the root cause of your cravings and emotional eating, then I started to work with clients who struggled with the emotional eating and the cravings to help them stop the diet binge cycle and really develop a healthy relationship with food. And really, like in my experience, and like I've seen clients change, like this work is life-changing. And I love supporting women and men on their journey through this process. And yeah, like the first half of my program, like we don't really even touch on food. It's all about mindset and really tuning back into your body.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of this, okay, so first thing that came to mind when you were talking was that because I used to kind of count calories, I was really focused on calories and that was really it. But when I started to shift my focus and try to get out of that, it was crazy how it kind of opened this door to like seeing how food affects us in different ways and the importance of food as fuel for our bodies. It was crazy. It just opened up a different world, like in food, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely a different world because I had been thinking and acting in one way. And I thought that was the only way and the right way. And then you kind of like open this other door over here and you're just like, whoa, there's like this whole other world.
Yeah. And then you realize, the importance of mindset. And it's like, okay, wait, that comes first. So important.
Definitely.
So cool. So talking about cravings, where does a craving stem from? Like, why do we have cravings? Where does it come from? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, definitely. So there's really two main reasons for your cravings. The first one is over hunger, and the second is over desire. So basically, if you're not eating enough for a prolonged period of time, your body is physically going to crave food for fuel. So that's where, like, when I was younger, I was restricting my calories for a really long period of time, and I was not giving myself enough fuel just to do. And I was I was a dancer, right? I was really active every day. And so I would have cravings, just like these crazy cravings. And they usually show up as like sugar, carb, fatty foods, because we're biologically designed to crave fat, sugar, and salt. Like that's just like from an evolutionary point of view, to keep us alive back in the days of hunting and gathering, we had to crave foods. We had to have a desire to go out and find food. But now it's like all around us. But we still have those cravings of fat, sugar, and salt. So when we restrict ourselves, those cravings definitely show up as fat, sugar, and salt.
That makes sense, because I feel like when I have a craving, or other people, like clients that I have, or just people that I talk to, they're like, yeah, I just crave either it's usually just like the salt or the sugar. So I crave chocolate and cake and cookies, or I crave the chips and all the salty type foods.
Yes, exactly. And then notice too that most of those foods also have high amounts of fat in them.
Mm-hmm.
So like cookies and cake and chips all have fat, but we think of it as like we're craving the sugar or the salt, right?
Right.
Um, yeah. So, if you know you eat enough food and you're fueling your body properly and you're still craving food, it's because of the second reason, which is over desire, right? So your desire for food comes from your thoughts around food. So,
Talk more about that.
you're thinking something that's causing a desire or an urge. Craving and urge are kind of the same thing, or pretty much the same thing, for a specific food. And especially if we're restricting foods, or like we're on a diet and we're like, I can't have ice cream. Like for me, it was ice cream, right? It's like, I can't have ice cream, but it's so good, right?
Yep.
So that creates a desire for food.
Yeah. Okay. So you're
For that
saying
ice
that, right. So our thoughts when we're thinking, I can't have something, I can't have this, then that creates eventually over desire for that thing. And then we want it more and more. Makes total sense. Yeah. Because I remember when I restricted a lot too, I would want more of the things that I said I can't have. And then when I let that go and was like, no, I'm just every day, if I want to have a little chocolate or even like a little cookie or whatever, when I started doing that, I could eat, like I kind of fell into this easier rhythm of having a cookie a day. And I was okay. I didn't feel the need to like overeat it thinking, well, I'm only going to eat it today, so I'm going to go all out. Or I already have the cookie, so I'm just going to keep eating as much as possible. So it's really, for me too, it was changing my mindset. And do you help people then? You said you start with mindset. So what are some things that you help people do in their thoughts to change their thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. So we really dig into their thoughts around food. Whether that be like restricting food, and we look at their like dieting, I call it their dieting history. It's kind of like your dating history, but like,
oh yeah,
like what experiences have you had with diets, and how has that affected the way you think? And we also look into diet culture and how it has affected our beliefs about ourselves and the way we should show up. We believe we should show up in the world. So we really, really dive into your thoughts, and really becoming aware of your thoughts is the first step. Like awareness is the first step. And once you see like you have these thoughts of like, I want that, like even like you'll be walking down the street and there's like an ice cream, like I go back to ice cream, but there's like an ice cream shop and you're like, oh, I want that, but I can't have it. Oh, but I want it, but I can't have it, and it's like that tension inside grows. So looking at those, like they can seem so innocent, like, but those thoughts, they create an unhealthy relationship with food, whether that be like the all or nothing mindset or perfectionism, or like this idea of good foods and bad foods. Like that mindset is so, it doesn't serve you in the long run, right? It's not going to get you to your goals of weight loss and really having that sustainable weight and living life sustainably and eating in a way that's sustainable for you.
Yep, I agree. And I really like how you said experience around food. I've never thought about that. Like I've always thought about, okay, our thoughts really impact like our relationship with food, but I've never thought about how my experiences have affected my relationship with food. That's pretty crazy. Do you think that the thoughts that mostly come to your clients or just people in general, the ones that are like the main ones that you see come up are good and bad foods and I can't have this? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Are those like the couple main ones?
Yeah, those would be the main ones. Like the idea of good foods and bad foods is huge. And I think that's stemming from diet culture, because you've been on a diet and you have these foods that you restrict or you don't eat. And therefore you think that they're bad. And then if you eat them, then you are inherently bad. You're a bad person, or you did something bad, right? And it can be the same for like good foods. Like you have a salad, like, oh, I did really good today, right? I'm a good person because I did this. When in all actuality, like food is just food. It's neither good nor bad. I like to say like the brownie didn't wake up today saying, ooh, I'm going to be bad today. Like
that's funny. Yeah.
Right? It's just literally food. It's just like flour, sugar, whatever, chocolate, egg, whatever you put in brownies.
Yeah.
It's neither good nor bad. So yeah, the idea of good food and bad food, and also the all or nothing mindset is huge too with clients that I work with.
Yeah. And I think that because I've thought about the good or bad, and I remember when I decided to stop labeling food as good or bad, and it actually really helped me because it helped my mindset and my relationship with food. And even it kind of trickled into my relationship with my body and with workouts. Because like, okay, a donut, instead of saying it's bad, I try and say it's just less nutrient dense than an apple. Just using different words, I feel like can really help instead of labeling it as good or bad. Is that something that you learned in your schooling, or how did that come about for you?
That came about after, like the schooling was definitely more about, we had exposure to different types of foods and how it affects your body and different diets and theories. And also just like the holistic side of health and nutrition. And it wasn't until I started working with a coach that focused on, the mindset aspect of your relationship to food that I started shifting my mindset. And that's when I started started in reducing my cravings and like understanding them better. And I think just understanding, like you have so much more compassion for yourself when you understand why you're craving food. Cause for so long, I thought there was something wrong with me. I'm like, there's something wrong with me. Like I don't have enough willpower or self-control. But really, when you understand like the biological science behind it, you're like, oh, that's why I'm craving food, because I'm like biologically designed to keep myself alive. And now we are living in, a society where we have convenience foods all around us. And there are food companies that research this. So they make foods so it makes you like want more and keeps you coming back and buying more, right?
Yep.
So it's like, oh, okay. Like you have so much more compassion for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So how can someone begin to reduce their cravings or like stop their cravings? I guess you mentioned first to be aware of your thoughts, but what else can someone do to just help with that?
Yeah. So in regards to helping with your cravings, one is being just aware of your cravings and really looking at the idea of physical hunger and emotional hunger. So if I'm wanting food, I ask myself, am I physically hungry or am I emotionally hungry? So physical hunger is like, it comes on slowly. You might feel like growling in your stomach, or like any food will kind of satisfy you. Like you could have some like carrots and hummus and you would be satisfied, or you could have, a wrap and it would be satisfying. And so really looking like, am I physically hungry or emotionally hungry? If you're physically hungry, yes, go ahead and have a snack. But emotional hunger, on the other hand, it usually comes on really quickly, right? So it's like all of a sudden I want ice cream, or all of a sudden I want some chips. And it's very specific in what it wants. It wants ice cream and nothing else will do, or I just want something sweet, like sweet and creamy or crunchy and salty, or nothing else will do. And physical hunger, you eat until you're comfortably satisfied, you're comfortably full, right? Whereas emotional hunger or craving is like you just eat and eat and eat, and you'll eat past until you're stuffed, right? Until you're like physically bloated. So just recognizing like, am I feeling physical hunger? Am I feeling emotional hunger? Is that's part of the awareness, right? And so once you realize that you're feeling emotional hunger, you can just ask yourself, a great question to ask yourself is like, what do I really want or need? Right? Because there's something under that craving. It's not really food that your body wants. There's something else. So you could just ask yourself, what do I really want right now? Or what do I really need? That's a great question to ask yourself. And then you can dive into that.
Right. What are some things that our body is needing when we crave certain foods?
I mean, if you're physically, like your physical hunger is like under control, or like satisfied, it's usually something emotional, right? If you're craving something and you know you're not physically hungry, it's usually something emotional. So whether that be like you're lonely, you're stressed, you're sad, you're angry, you're frustrated, it can show up in a host of different emotions. And really, emotions are just vibrations in our body, and they can be uncomfortable, right? They can be like a pressure in our chest. They could be tightness in our shoulders, tingling in our body, and they're just uncomfortable. And our bodies are designed to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and do what's easiest. That's our motivational triad. And so if we have uncomfortable feeling in our body, we seek pleasure, right? And so we seek out food because food can comfort us. It can entertain us. It can give us pleasure. So we seek out the food and we eat just to cover it up, right? So yeah, did that answer your question? I feel like I went off on a tangent.
Yeah, it did. That makes sense. Yeah, okay, for sure. Well, that happens to me all the time. So in your opinion, what would be reasons why people can't stop having cravings? Is it because of they're not aware of their thoughts, or why, in your opinion, is it that people just can't stop having these cravings?
Yeah. And like I said, there's like that biological reason. So just understanding the biological reason behind it and noticing where you are, like, are you seeking pleasure in like when you go for that craving? Are you seeking pleasure? And sometimes we try, and I guess another reason is like we will give into our craving and then we beat ourselves up for it, right? We're just like, oh my God, not again. I can't believe you did that. And like a host of like negative self-talk comes up. And so when we do that, we're just perpetuating the cycle of like that, restrict and binge. But when you come from a place of compassion and really like, what do I really need? Like, am I feeding myself enough food throughout the day? Am I getting a variety of foods in throughout the day? Like having that compassion. Am I giving myself self-care, right? Am I taking care of myself emotionally? Do I have a really stressful job? It's like getting curious and finding out what is beyond those cravings.
Yeah. I love how you said being curious, like getting curious, then finding out what it is beyond those. And a lot of people I find have nighttime cravings. And I know you said just asking yourself, am I eating enough throughout the day? So have you found that for most, like, have you worked with anyone who they're like, I just have nighttime cravings. It hits 10 p.m. and I can't stop eating. What has been your experience with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people struggle with nighttime cravings. I did myself. And first and foremost, make sure you're eating enough throughout the day. And once you are, if you're still struggling with cravings, then there's something emotional going on there. And whether that be like you've done it for so long, because I think I was at that point where it was a habit. I had done it for so long. I had restricted throughout the day. Nighttime would come. I would give in to sugar, whatever type of food. And then once I started nourishing my body and adding in, whole foods and just nourishing it throughout the day, I still struggled with those nighttime cravings. And whether that it could be like just your habit, like I've been doing this for, could be years, it could be months, I've been doing this for a while and your body is just used to it. Like nighttime comes around, there's a trigger and then you react to it. Or there's something emotional. Like most of my clients, there's something emotional going on. Like they haven't allowed their emotions throughout the day. And they just kind of like push them down, like stress at work, push it down. Relationship issues, push it down. I'm lonely, push it down. And then evening comes up, you're tired, it's the end of the day. You just want something comforting. And so you don't want to allow those emotions. And so you tend to eat. So there's usually an emotion under there. It could be loneliness. It could be stress. It could be boredom. Like boredom's a big one too. Yeah. A lot of my clients eat because they're bored, especially during the pandemic, because we had a lot of extra time on our hands inside our houses. And so just having like eating out of boredom. And so creating some, like I always suggest to create comfort in your life. Like, what are ways that you can create comfort in your life that gives you a positive result? And it's different for everyone. It could be reading a book. It could be, starting a hobby. It could be cleaning out a closet. Like, I like things to be clean, and that's really satisfying and comforting to me. So it's like, I'll go clean out a drawer or, like organize my closet. So finding those kind of like those comforting activities that have a positive like outcome, essentially.
Right. And so when it comes to emotional eating, and so like physical hunger, really it sounds like there's only physical hunger and then emotional hunger, or like emotional eating. Nova, my dog.
It's okay.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, if someone's asking, well, do I have emotional eating? Would it be a yes if they just know that they're not physically hungry? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely if you're not physically hungry and you're eating, there's an emotion behind that.
Like an emotion. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that you don't ever want to eat emotionally. Like, I still eat emotionally because, there's times and places that you do, like you're at a party or something, but it's when you notice that you're developing this poor relationship with food, poor like body image. There's times when you want to address it and see what you can do to help with your emotional eating or your emotional hunger.
Right. Okay. And then also with stress eating, I actually had someone ask me, she said, I've heard that stress eating is built into our DNA. Is this true? Do you have any like knowledge or experience around that? Or have you heard that before? Because I never heard that before.
I mean, I've never heard that before. That's a great question to look deeper into.
Yeah.
I would say it, in regards to like built into your DNA, I would say it would be more like that biological reaction to like seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and doing what's easiest. So like if you're stressed, like who listening, right, likes to feel stress? I don't like to feel stress, right? Yeah. So when I'm overly stressed, it's like, it's really easy to seek that pleasure by consuming food, right? And it could be something else for other people, like social media is a way to kind of escape your feelings. Like binging on Netflix is another way. Alcohol, gambling, there's shopping, right? Shopping.
For sure.
There's definitely ways other than food, but the people I work with and kind of like my focus is on emotional eating and eating because of an unwanted emotion,
right?
Or that uncomfort, that discomfort.
Yeah. How long do you find it takes for people to, I don't really like saying fix the cravings and emotional eating, but like, what's like a timeline? Like, I'm sure it's not like in a day or a week, and I'm sure it's different for everyone, but what's like a general timeline that when people start working on it, of them like helping with all of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't think I have like a solid, it takes 6 months. I think it depends on the person and just kind of like their past experiences. But when I work with my clients, I give them the tools and show them how to use it to help them with their cravings, to help them with their emotional eating. And it could take a different amount of time for different people. And I would say like, if somebody is like dedicated, they're doing the work, they're in my program, they have the tools, they have the accountability, they have me as their, coach just to chat back and forth. Like my program is 3 months. And by the end of the 3 months, they have all the tools they need. Now these tools are going to be ones that they continue using for the rest of their life. Like I still use these tools. Because I still struggle. I'm not going to say like I never eat emotionally or I never come across a time when I want to eat because I'm feeling uncomfortable. And so I still use these tools. Some people, they learn the tools, they go through the process and they don't eat emotionally or they get rid of their cravings. Some people need to use it over and over and over again. So I don't necessarily have like a black and white number for you, but you can learn all the tools in 3 months, and then you can continue using those for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I think it's just all about having accountability, a coach, like someone that can help equip you with what you need mentally and like the tools, like you said. And if you carry that out and just it's like working out and eating healthier and all that, like we continue it for life, and it's never going to be perfect. And if you've been struggling with cravings for years, then you might be at a point where you don't crave as much, or they're gone, or they're, reduced or whatever, but then they might show up. Like they're definitely going to show up from time to time. So I feel like it's just was ingrained in us for so long that they can easily show up. But if you have the tools, then you can easily just get back on track.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that you relate it to working out, because I talk to clients about this too. And I was just like, your mindset work is like, you have to go to the gym, right? You can't go to the gym once, do some bicep curls and expect to have bigger biceps, right? Going to the gym takes like 3-4 times a week for weeks on end before you're going to notice change and see a difference. Mindset work is the same thing. You have to practice it. Like it's a daily practice.
Yes, it really is a daily practice. And it's kind of like I like to teach working out too, and say that it's a skill, because it's a skill to practice these things and to do a squat. Like it's a skill. But I think the same can be applied for this stuff too. It's a skill to work on our mindsets. It's a skill to, be aware, learn how to be aware of your thoughts, and all of that takes practice. Just like if we wanted to practice basketball, the skills of playing basketball, daily practice.
Yeah,
takes
definitely.
a long time.
Yeah, it's a skill. It's a skill. Yeah, you have to practice it over and over, and like expect to not be perfect too. Like,
right.
Letting go of that all or nothing mindset, right?
Yes.
Like, it's not going to be a perfect journey. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be struggles. There's going to be wins. And that's part of the process. That's like what you need to go through to get to the other side.
Yes, for sure. Expecting it. Because I try and like tell my clients too, we have to expect the days where maybe you don't have a good workout, or maybe like you said, just having those expectations. Because then when it happens, it's not as defeating, or it doesn't make you just quit all of a sudden. And so I think that was good that you pointed that out. What about, diet programs and like supplements and all of that? How do those specifically affect having cravings? Maybe like, do you think it's just the all or nothing mentality, or is there anything else that kind of leads to these cravings and yo-yo dieting?
Oh, definitely. It's definitely the all or nothing. It's like you either follow the meal plan or you don't. But you also when you choose to diet or go on a diet, you let go of your intuitive eating and that instinctual, I think we all have like that instinctual, okay, I'm hungry. What is best for my body? And you're allowing someone else to tell you what to eat, how much to eat, and when to eat. So you're letting go of that. And so you lose that trust in yourself. Cause I just think about like restricting, when we're restricting and we're like hungry, like physically hungry, but we're like, oh, I can't eat until my next meal. Right. You're losing touch with that intuitive eating and not trusting your body. And really they can be restrictive. Right. And like a cookie cutter meal plan is not necessarily going to serve you, especially they don't know like your size, like your activity level, like how much you need to eat. And so if you're restricting too much, it can cause a binge. Eventually it can cause a binge and giving into your cravings. Also, most diets, they don't focus on mindset or emotional eating. They don't even
good point.
touch on that. Right. Yep. And so I think that's like their biggest fault. Diets in general, they just focus on the food, what to eat, what not to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, but they don't talk about the mindset or emotional eating.
Right. That makes total sense. It makes sense. I've never thought about that, like how just diets and programs don't touch on that part of it, but very important. Yeah. Kind of wrapping this up, what would be your top tips that like someone listening can today, tomorrow, start doing to help reduce their cravings, help with emotional eating, like just some of your top tips that you could give?
Yeah. I would say, first of all, look and see, like, are you eating enough food? Like, do you find yourself throughout the day, like physically hungry? And I mean, there's nothing wrong with feeling a little hunger and a little twinge, but are you eating enough for your body, the amount of activity you're doing? Are you fueling yourself, or are you restricting? So I would say, first and foremost, make sure you are fueling your body. If you're still struggling with cravings, I would just sit down and get curious. Like, that's the biggest thing you can do, is get curious. Why am I craving this food? Like, what's going on deeper than craving this food, or than just the food? Also, we didn't touch on this, but drinking water, like,
Yes.
It's such an easy, like, it seems so simple, but so many people don't drink enough water. So like, the rule of thumb is taking your body weight, dividing it by 2, and that's the minimum amount of water you want to drink throughout the day. Water keeps us hydrated. Every cell in our body needs it. We mistake dehydration for a craving for food, for hunger. So making sure you're getting in adequate amount of water throughout the day. Another one we didn't touch on, but you can do right now, is getting enough sleep. So 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night.
Yes.
Ideally going to sleep at the same time and waking up around the same time. Once again, your body does so much when it sleeps. And if you're not getting enough sleep, your body is craving energy. And how does your body get energy? Through food. And it usually is like, okay, like, your body's needs energy. It's like, what is the easiest digestible food possible? That's sugar, right? When we eat sugar, it goes straight to our stomach and our bloodstream. So getting enough sleep is going to help you minimize your cravings. I don't know if that was 5. I think that was 4. So
That's okay.
Yeah, making sure you're eating enough throughout the day, getting curious about your cravings. Like, what is underneath? Is there an emotion, right? Is there an emotion under this? Is there something I don't want to feel? Getting enough water, getting enough sleep. And then I would say too, just getting curious about, like, do I have an all or nothing mindset?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest ones. Do I have an all or nothing mindset? And even, like, Google it. Like, you can just Google all or nothing mindset, how to get rid of my all or nothing mindset. I'm sure something great will come up there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it's just to get you started, right? Like, noticing, like, it's not about the food. I always like to say, it's not about the food. Like, it's about what's beyond the food. It's about the emotions that are under there.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that all, like you said earlier, just having that awareness is step 1, because then I think that then allows you to be curious and to Google things, look things up. Yeah. And I can really attest to the water and the sleep, because if I get 5-6 hours of sleep or anything less, my body, it just feels like I feel like a completely different person, but I definitely find the cravings and just cravings in general, I have more cravings for sugar and foods that normally I would not really care to eat or like have a craving for.
Right.
And it's just insane, the difference that I feel. And same with drinking water. I've definitely been at a point where I realize I have not drinking really any water. I feel hungry, but since I know I didn't drink enough water, I'll just chug water and I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because our body doesn't necessarily, it's like we're really dehydrated, but we kind of think we're hungry. They have like the same sensation. So it's really important just to have like those basic, it's like almost those basic needs of like sleep,
really,
water.
Yeah. Just basic, like going back to the basics, and it's stuff that seems easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. And it's easy just to kind of have it slip our minds or not even think about. So what would be, so 2 last questions here. Is there anything else, I guess, that you want to say or talk about or make sure that like anyone's listening takes away from today?
Yeah. I would say, I mean, we kind of touched on this, but just like the biggest overarching, like if you're struggling with cravings, first of all, nothing's wrong with you. There's literally nothing wrong with you. You are human. And I always like to say like evolutionarily speaking, I have like a huge desire for food that probably would keep me alive, right? That would get me out hunting and gathering and looking for food. So I think I have like good genes, right? If you have strong cravings, you just have good genes, right? But understanding nothing has gone wrong and just really seeking out compassion for yourself, right? Having that compassion and adopting that mindset is going to serve you so much in the long run. You know, I always like to think of like, what would I say to my best friend if she was struggling with cravings or if she like binged eat? Like, what would I say to her? I would not go up to her and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. You're never going to lose weight. You're going to be fat, or, I would never say that to my best friend. I would just be like, hey, I'm sorry, sorry that happened. Like, why do you think you binged on food? Like, what was going on for you? Like, that's a whole different approach. Having that compassion for yourself through this process is going to serve you so much.
Yeah, those are two really important points. And I love how you pointed that out, that you wouldn't talk to your best friend that way. Like how we talk to ourselves really negatively sometimes. Like people just do that. We gravitate towards the negativity, but then asking yourself, okay, would I say that to my best friend or like a family member? Well, no, probably not. Okay, well, what would I say? And then like doing that for yourself. That's one thing that's really helped me too. And just to like have that compassion. And then my last question is, so my podcast is called Flow with the Grow. Mm-hmm. So what for you comes to mind? I find that a lot of people have different answers for this.
Oh, okay.
It's fun to ask this, but yeah, what comes to mind?
Yeah. And I know like when I first heard your podcast and I was like looking at it and I'm like Flow with the Grow, and like, it really is kind of like what I'm going through right now, I guess, like just like having compassion with yourself and just go like, you're going to change and grow. And like, especially if you're trying to challenge yourself, whatever area that be in your life, whether that be like your health, whether that be a career or a relationship, like to grow, you need to challenge yourself and there's going to be discomfort, and really just allowing it to be there and going with it. Just flow with the grow, like flow with the discomfort, with the change. Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. I like how you said flow with discomfort and flow with change. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Okay. So lastly, where can people find you if they want to learn more about your program? Where can they go? Give us all the details on that.
Yeah. So I do have a great community on Facebook. It's called Lose Your Cravings, also the name of my podcast. So those places are great for support and just further education. My website is Keysa Amaro. That's KeysaAmaro.com. And there you can find more about my program, more about me, anything you want.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. I will link that in the show notes too, so anyone can check that out. And that's all that I had. And we'll talk to you soon. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot. So I hope a lot of other people can learn a lot and help with their cravings, but just really navigating life. Like, I feel like we all struggle with this, and like you said, it's okay. So yeah, I just appreciate your time and sharing all of that.
Yeah, for sure. I had a wonderful time, and I feel like I can like talk for hours on this. So.
Yeah. Well, you're doing your thing then. So that's great.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Flow with the Grow. I'll see you next week for your daily dose of positivity and growth.